Hi, everyone. This is Dave Roth from AvaSure. I am Chief Marketing Officer. Myself, as well as our panelists and our marketing team that are helping out with today's webinars. We're based here in Belmont, Michigan. That's our corporate office, and we're really excited that you joined today's call. This is new hardware options, mainly centered for our customer base to learn more about the latest from our AvaSure experts, who I'll introduce in just a moment. We at AvaSure, we're proud to be the choice of about 1,000 hospitals. We're the inventor of the telesitter market solution, and we are proud because we help people keep people safe. And that means all of you who are helping patients each and every day. Joined today, if we could go to the next slide, please, is Rich Mussmann. Rich is a experienced healthcare information technology pro, sits on our product team. He is our VP of innovation, and I'm happy that Rich could join us today. And he's joined by Chris Plank. Chris is our Director of Hardware Engineering. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, we do let our engineers talk with our customers directly. And so Rich has agreed to join us for today's call. The purpose of today's call is really to cover the hardware options that are currently available. So as hospitals are expanding, thank you, in the next slide, expanding their patient safety and nurse capabilities in the market, we've got more hardware options to present and to talk about to satisfy all of those business needs. Before we get underway, though, I do want to mention for all of the AvaSure customers that are out there, this is the second in a series of webinars that we are using as a way to help share what's going on at AvaSure, to educate folks on other options. And so as we go through this series, we're going to cover other topics like this from AvaSure, but eventually we're going to get more and more to panel types of webinars from our customers. We know that you want to hear from other customers, their best practices, how they're tackling the challenges in their particular corner of the world. We're also looking to make this as two-way as possible. Towards the end of the presentation, we're going to launch a survey. We're going to ask which of these options you see moving to or that has interest. We'll also ask you a survey at the very end of the presentation. Please give us your feedback. We want to tailor these things towards the topics that you are interested in most. So having said all of that, I will turn it over to you, Rich.
Perfect. Thanks, Dave. Chris and I are eager to share insights into AvaSure's various hardware products. As our customers know, we strive to be the most trusted video partner, leveraging technology and analytics and support to deliver on hospital patient safety and staffing efficiency. As we could spend an entire webinar on any one of the products, whether it's the ultimate and latest in mobility, or our broader use in TV integrated wall unit, or the highest level functionality for dedicated rooms with our ceiling mount products, we've decided to share key products only once in the presentation, and we'll let you know which ones kind of span the products, and then talk about the unique features when we're talking through the specific product. So this will give you the most amount of information in the shortest amount of time for this webinar. So with that, why don't we get started? First, let me tell you about our 3 features that are unique to our 2 versions of the Guardian ceiling device. These units are often found where floor space is really hard to come by, such as in an emergency department. These have been designed to be both easy to install by just replacing a 2x2 ceiling tile with just a data PoE plus cable to be run to it. We also have them meeting OSHPD requirements if you happen to be in California, to make sure that we have safety in seismic events. And this just required extra engineering to make sure that we meet weight, flammability, plenum airflow compatibility, a bunch of things that you may not care so much about, but it's very important to the application in your hospital. And then of course there's secondary mounting security to make sure that if there really was an earthquake, that our devices would not fall all the way to, and hurt anybody. For those needing monitoring in a behavioral health setting, the no ligature design adds to the patient safety considerations built into every AvaSure product. Speaking of every product, the surface compatibility with harsh disinfectants and ultraviolet C disinfection devices that became part of strict infection control during the pandemic, and also night vision capabilities to maintain monitoring while room lights have been turned off. These are actually supported in all 5 of AvaSure's products that we're talking about today. So common engineering, common solution, making sure that we bring it to you. Chris is now going to take over and tell you about the Guardian mobile device.
Sure. So this is our Guardian mobile device. It is a second generation product for us. It's a big upgrade in appearance over our first generation product. And that's what we mean by sleek look for patient and caregiver comfort. Clinical PTZ camera, what this means is this is a camera that can do a full 360 degree view of the room with a 10 by optical zoom. If you've ever been in our webinars for product demonstrations, one of the things our demonstrating staff likes to show is how you can zoom into an instrument from across the room. You can read numbers, you can see material, you can see contents of bags, that type of work. Wireless signal strength indicator, this was an ad for our new product, and that's so that you can determine the optimum place in the room by looking at your Wi-Fi signal strength on the back panel. Rich highlighted before UVC resistance. UVC is important because it's an extraordinarily harsh disinfection method for plastics. UVC can cause plastics to become brittle, discolored. Originally, there were concerns with sensor damage with cameras. Our camera's been tested to, I believe, 2,000 hours of harsh UVC, which should represent a lifetime of disinfection to make sure that there's no degradation in the sensor. And then we've also, for this new generation product, improved our base. We've gone from a 4-wheel base with single kind of skate wheels to this 5-wheel base with dual casters. And that's to prevent wheels from catching when entering or exiting elevators or over thresholds. The other improvement for this product is we've gone from 1 capacitive microphone to 2 stereo MEMS microphones with a -26 dB sensitivity and their own individual amplifiers for left and right channels. So it's got really good audio performance for quiet patients, but it can be scaled down for louder conversations also. So next slide, please. Here's an example of it being transported. This is, we can keep going. This is a new version of the product, and it's our Guardian FIPS mobile device. FIPS stands for Federal Information Protection Standard, or I believe processing standard, not protection standard. But what it means is that this new device is compatible for VA hospitals and Department of Defense applications where a FIPS compliant Wi-Fi connection is required. This has the same wireless signal strength indicator. The 2 photos here, the one on the left shows the venting that's new to that device for the wireless bridge to the FIPS encrypted network. And then the one on the right shows our back panel with our wireless signal strength indicator, our self-test, and then our accessory connections. The big thing that's really exciting with this device is we've added an onboard battery pack. So there's on the front, underneath the housing, really almost no change to the front housing. There's a 66 watt-hour battery, which lets the device stay up for over an hour and a half. In a two-way, in a one-way device, and a two-way device, it can stay up for an hour. And the advantage here is that a device can be unplugged from the wall, transported with a patient, plugged back in, and there's no loss of network connection and no delay for boot time coming back up on the network. So that's a really big advantage for things like telenurse applications where you may have to take a device from room to room with a nurse or a member of staff, or you need to, like I said, transport a patient and you want to unplug the device. It stays on the network with the patient. You go back to your new room destination. You can plug it right back in, and you have no interruption in service. So, next slide. So, Rich, I think I passed this to you for the Guardian 2-way mobile device.
Yep, thanks, Chris. So there's certainly more strong engineering inside Guardian mobile devices than meets the eye. It's kind of cool to share all those stats and details. I'd like to continue with the newest member of our mobile options. It's the 2-way device. Being part of the product line, it also embodies a very sophisticated audio engineering capability. It's more than just a microphone and speaker from an electronics store. It actually includes specific types of amplifiers, echo cancelers, and signal processing to bring high fidelity to conversations that need to take place between a patient and their caregiver. A highly recognizable stat alarm with sufficient audio power to be heard through the closed doors of an isolation room is built into all AvaSure monitoring systems. The addition of the high definition color monitor and touchscreen actually enables a much richer communication experience with the patients. The capabilities of the two-way device are providing newfound flexibility to nursing teams who must also deal with the crisis of staffing shortages. Next slide. And several of the use cases that allow some RN workload to be actually shifted away from the bedside are now supported with AvaSure's telenurse solutions for care units that see relief coming from virtual nursing workflow flexibility. These are challenging times, and AvaSure is here to help with both current products and the new ones that address the current needs and problems. To tell us more about the newest addition to our hardware products, I'm going to bounce it back to Chris.
This is our Guardian Access unit. I've got a sample of one of the design validation prototypes here, so I'll be holding it up and talking about the features as I go. But this is a every room solution. So the idea is to have all of the capability in our two-way mobile device, but in a smaller, sleeker package that can be mounted against the wall with this this hinge mount, and really bring you all the same capability that's in the two-way device in terms of audio, in terms of intelligence, in terms of telemedicine and telenurse applications, but in a smaller form factor that doesn't take up floor space. The benefit for this is it can be deployed in a larger number of rooms. So rather than having a fleet of maybe 10 to 20 to 100 units, this could be a one per bed solution. It was originally intended for the idea of virtual rounding and a telenurse application where you can monitor patients without the use of donning and removing PPE in the case we had with the pandemic. Another feature of this device is a connection. You can see this port here, the decal's missing, so it's a little primitive, to an HDMI connection to the TV. The HDMI connection to the TV, along with the consumer electronics control, lets this device use the existing in-room or in-room entertainment for two-way telenurse calls or conferences with the monitoring tech. So the device can sit next to the TV, is designed to be mounted next to the TV. You can take control of the TV and do a two-way video call, or you can play informational activity to the patient for any kind of patient information stuff you need to relay through a smart TV. But that's a really cool feature with this, and it's accomplished through this HDMI connection on the side. We talked a little bit about small size. It's easy to install. There's a hinge that goes on the wall, or a mounting plate that goes on the wall. This snaps in, two screws on the bottom. There's some wire management here in this hinge, and it can be connected either PoE++ or a 48 volt DC to AC converter, and that makes it about as easy to install as our ceiling units, except for the two screws that go into the wall. So it's a pretty cool piece. The other thing that's interesting about this camera is it has a large 13 megapixel camera fixed focus here on the front. So the design language is kind of the standard for all these units. You've got the round privacy ring, the dark IR light, but in the center now we have this 13 megapixel camera which can accomplish a digital pan, tilt, and zoom through a 13 megapixel picture space. So you've got a 170 degree lens that goes really across the room, but inside that 170 degrees you can pan, tilt, and pick a region of interest in the room that you want to stream back to the client. Using the same interface and the same controls as our standard Guardian mobile unit or the ceiling unit. This way you're only streaming the 720 or 1080p pixel image that you need from the room, but you're not limited to a single narrow like webcam view that you would get with like an off-the-shelf product. So that's a little bit about Guardian Mobile. Rich?
Actually, Dave, I think.
Or Guardian Access. I said Guardian Mobile. That was a misspeak. But there's a couple of new slides on it to show what the intended application is in the room. It would designed to be adjacent to the TV. We recommend a mounting height of around 72 inches, which would give you comparable video performance to the mobile unit. That's a 72-inch camera. That's really the height where we feel you get the best view of the patient overall for their body and what they're doing in the room. So next slide. So this is the ambiguous, we figured out the hard stuff slide. But Dave, was that one you wanted to take, or you want me to keep going?
I think you going. I think it just talks about
Awesome.
how we thoroughly test all of our hardware, Chris. It's better
Great.
coming.
I can totally riff on that. So this is a photo of one of the tests we put our Guardian mobile units through. It's just a demonstration of the kind of in-depth testing we have to do at AvaSure. This particular image shows radiated emissions testing in a semi-anechoic chamber in a local laboratory, where we look at the electromagnetic energy that's coming off the product. That's one example of the sort of testing that we do that makes this a complete integrated product, as opposed to a collection of off-the-shelf components that somebody could try to fabricate to do the same mission. Our plastic selections are things like med armor, medical grade, chemical resistant plastic. We research our plastics for UV performance. We test our plastics to UV performance. We test our plastics to all the cleanability specifications that we put into the operating manual. So a lot of these things like Cavicide and some really difficult cleaning products are really tough on plastics. Particularly, you want to be very careful, like around the lenses and stuff, but they can create brittleness, crazing, finish damage, and that's really reflects poorly on the product and how it looks in the system. We also do a lot of testing for audio. We normalize audio across all of our devices. So device A, device B, device C should all have comparable volume limits for the speakers. The speakers are of like a 4-inch, almost a car speaker for alarm tone, but they're all kind of normalized across the device. So the wall mount device uses the same speaker and is tested to the same standard that the mobile device is tested to, that the ceiling device is tested to. So it's a uniform product performance across all of the platforms. Other testing we perform, a lot of functional testing with regards to camera clarity and low light conditions, camera zoom, focus, shock and vibration. We learned early on with some early products that these cameras, because they're transported through harsh environments, and it's not always a clean tile floor. Sometimes it's a threshold, it's an elevator. So camera performance for shock and vibration is really important for us. Yeah, that's my summary of the hard stuff we do to test the unit and make sure that it's functional in as many conditions as we can manage. So back to Dave.
Chris, as you know, I'm with AvaSure now for about 3 months. I'm going to try really hard to learn all the terminology that you rattled off. You know, my version of that is that we're designed for hospitals. When you're the choice of about 1,000 hospitals across the United States, we're testing things like our audio standards. There's loud environments, and then there's very soft one-on-one conversations that need to be made. There, from the visual standpoint, there's low light performance, you said, but there's also high resolution needs. Rich is going to bring a lot of these points home in his summary. But before we do that, I just want to pause for everybody on the call. First of all, thanks for all of your questions. I'm sorting through them, but right now I'd say they revolve around both FIPS availability. Is that FIPS mobile unit available today? And also, you know, what are the specific IT measures needed to support the ceiling mount Guardian devices? You know, there's some areas where you know, and I think there was related to plumbing, leaking ceiling tiles, things like that. How do we think through, you know, the design of the products? And we can certainly take some of these questions offline, but in general, you know, what are the expectations to ensure the right environment for the ceiling unit? How do we help work with IT there? And then FIPS availability. So I'm gonna just put those questions out there. But in the meantime, let's go to a survey. So we have walked through the Guardian Mobile, Guardian Access, and Guardian Ceiling options. We're curious, for those of you on the call, which of these is an area of interest. We're constantly looking for feedback, direction from all of you. So Laura, if you wouldn't mind, please load that survey, and we just ask for the next 30-60 seconds for folks to indicate which of these you're more interested in as you expand your capabilities. All right, just looking at the responses right now. And we're at about coming up on 40 seconds. So we still have a number of people voting. So please just take 10 more seconds. Which AvaSure hardware device would you be most excited to add to your fleet, your spectrum, your array of capable and reliable AvaSure devices? And we're asking folks to select just one. All right, Laura, we're at a minute. Thanks everybody for your responses. And most of our attendees are interested in the Guardian Access device, probably because it is, as hospitals are expanding their broad use of these types of things. The mobile device comes in second, and then was it the ceiling units that follow that. So that's great. Gentlemen, any comments in terms of what we're seeing from the distribution on this webinar versus what we're seeing in our day-to-day conversations? Rich, I'll go start with you.
Well, it's pretty exciting to see, because obviously the newest one is probably the one that's going to have a lot of interest, and we designed it very specifically around feedback that came in directly from customers about what they needed. So it's kind of gratifying to see a response that kind of matches that. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, and I would echo what Rich is saying. I'm excited about Guardian Access, so it's nice to see that there's interest in it. I don't get a lot of feedback on the level of interest we're seeing on it, and I'm close to it because we've been working on it for a year and a half. So it's good to see that there's a lot of product interest in it. I've been really proud of the way it's operated in testing. The camera performance has been really good. Our software team frequently gives us great feedback on the camera and how well it's working in the room and with our client system. So yeah, I'm really excited about Guardian 2. It's one I'm really proud of, and we've spent a lot of development time and a lot of lessons learned to make it a really strong product, I think. So I'm excited about it.
Wonderful to see all the excitement. And Chris, obviously the work that you and the team are doing here is paying off, and clearly we're listening to all of you because we're designing and we're moving in the right direction with all of our options moving forward. So thanks for all of that. I'm going to pause just one more. We'll get to the Q&A questions, but Rich, why don't you bring us home with the next slide?
Okay, just wanted to grab the top 5, because obviously with the information we've shared today, there could have picked from 20. But in summary, number 1, we're really proud to stand behind our hardware products and the unique value that they support people who are taking care of patients. We have over 20 nurses on the AvaSure team, and I can genuinely tell you that our products are very much clinically inspired to try to solve real problems and at the same time remove the nuisance or problems that can sometimes come with new technology. Number 2, our products and the focus of our entire engineering team are to promote and build whatever it takes to promote patient safety, whether you can see it on the outside or not. We're very pleased to note that many of our customers have conducted and published studies that show our telesitter solution to be the gold standard of delivering patient safety and avoiding patient falls and other adverse events, actually. So that's my number 2. My number 3, our hardware is very reliable. Many of our devices have been out there for quite a long time, and they're still working reliably, and we're really proud of that. And they are backed up with 24/7 live technical support. We find that our customers very much enjoy having access to that when they need it. And so that's my number 3. My number 4, our products are actually fairly easy to use, and we're pretty proud of that. And that's probably because many of our new ideas and features to make them even easier to use come directly from our customers. We're quite happy that our customers are actually our innovation partners, and I get to work closely with that. Our roadmaps are filled with new ideas that are going to be coming to you in the future, so stay tuned. This is going to be fun. We do the hard part, but we try to make sure that it's easy for you to use. And then finally, number 5, and I do hope it shows through webinars and presentations like this, that we are eager to invest in relationships with you, our customers, in order to team up with you, to be your partners in providing leading edge healthcare, taking on whatever new problems may come our way. And I say our as partners with you. Dave, do you have any questions that Chris and I might be able to answer?
Absolutely. And guys, thank you so much for taking the time to share what it is that we're doing. It is super exciting. I guess I'd start with the first question, Rich, towards you, which is the FIPS mobile device availability.
I believe things are lining up to be able to have that available by September, where we try to not talk about specific things until it's short enough that we can actually commit to and deliver on those things. So we're really excited. The testing has gone really well on that, and it's pretty exciting to have it be that close.
So stay tuned, and we'll certainly provide that information as it becomes available. But very exciting. Chris, over to you. And we talked about this earlier in the day, Chris, right? When it comes to our ceiling tile and wall-mounted units, they're made for fixed and easy installation for dedicating these things for very specific rooms. Can you just touch a little bit, and we're happy to talk about this afterwards. For those interested, reach out, or we can reach back to all of you. But for the sake of general information, how do we what are the IT specs needed? How do we make it easy to install these in rooms?
Sure. So the in-ceiling unit was designed to be installed by IT professionals. We wanted a device that could replace a 24-inch by 24-inch ceiling tile. The power requirements for it is a PoE plus switch, so you can power the entire device with an Ethernet cable equipped to a PoE plus switch. It uses about 28 watts on the far side with audio going and a night mode. It's 1.3 megabits per second bandwidth throughput. As an alternative, if you don't want to run PoE plus through, you can have an electrician install it with an AC connector. I don't know that I have one sitting here, but there's AC terminals that come in, and it wires like almost a standard outlet. There's a cable grip, comes in through the back. You can, hot, neutral, and ground, and it can be wired in AC also. So PoE plus or AC, 10 megabytes per second of bandwidth requirement from an IT perspective. And I think the second part of the question was something about leaky ceiling tiles or in-ceiling performance. Hopefully nobody's working in a situation with leaky ceiling tiles, but we've all seen drop ceilings with stains and that kind of stuff. The whole backside of the in-room device is covered in aluminum sheet. So we had that for our plenum rating. You can't have a big piece of plastic that in the event of an in-room fire melts and contaminates air handling space. But the entire backside of the unit is covered in like an aluminum sheet piece. So water ingress, moisture ingress. There's some venting along the top for heat, but generally it withstands drips and that type of thing. So I think those were the two questions on ceiling. Is there anything else I'm missing?
Those are the two high-level questions. I do want to acknowledge there's some other questions that I think that are just kind of account specific in terms of how do we get this thing going and investing and expanding on a current footprint. I know we've got conversations going with one or two of the organizations that are on the line, so I want to just acknowledge that I am seeing those. But I think in general, those are the questions for now. If anyone has any, also please open up the questions area in your GoToWebinar. We'll just give it another 10-20 seconds to make sure that we've addressed everything here. While we're doing that, Rich, Chris, anything else in closing? And with that, Laura, with our next slide, is that over to you, Rich?
I'm sorry.
I guess I'll take this slide. Please look for future AvaSure events. We've got an upcoming webinar on August 23rd. It says Customer Connection Software Webinar. We'll tweak that title a little bit. What we're really excited about is all the capabilities and things that we're doing with our software capabilities. We're not only seeing more need in terms of what we do from a software side, how we report different metrics into our Orna database and how we are helping hospitals to optimize things, but also we're seeing more application in the nurse space in terms of having one-on-one bedside mentoring conversations and also providing oversight into patients. And so more to follow there, but a lot of exciting things that we're doing on the software side as well, and really from a system-wide standpoint. And also look for us at the upcoming Magnet Conference. That's October 13 through 15, and that's in the Northeast up in the Philadelphia area. We hope to see lots of you there when we're at that conference. So I don't see any new questions. One last question. Can the access unit be connected to the TV without an entertainment or education system? For example, if the TV's off, does access manage turning the device on at the beginning of a virtual visit? I'm going to look to you, Mr. Plank.
Sure. So yeah, that doesn't need to have an in-room entertainment system. It can be hooked up, and we frequently test to just a TV in our lab. As long as the TV has supports CEC commands, which is consumer electronics control, over the HDMI cable, the device can turn the TV on. It can control the source, so HDMI 1, HDMI 2, can control volume. When we're in a call, the volume's actually, the audio is really going to come from the speaker on the device. So even if the TV is muted, you still have audio into the room. You still have microphones into the room with the two stereo microphones. But yeah, it doesn't require any particular hoteling system or smart TV. As long as it's an HDMI input and it supports CEC commands, the device can control the TV.
Awesome.
But hopefully that answers the question. If there's anything else or there are any other questions, I'm happy to answer them. So
you got it. There doesn't seem to be any additional questions for our webinar. Please, as I mentioned earlier, there are questions on a survey that follows this webinar. I did see a hand get raised, so I'm not sure if that's from our internal team or someone as part of the webinar. I'm just going to take 10 seconds to make sure we don't miss anything here. Again, I don't see anything on my chat or my Q&A, so maybe someone hit the wrong button, or we're happy to follow back with you. Please take your time to fill out the survey. Thank you so much. We're going to improve on these webinars and these discussions for the topics you want to hear most, and we're going to continue to get experts on the line and some customer panel discussions as well. So gentlemen, any last thoughts, or it's a wrap? Super.
No, well, actually, I have a last thought, and that's thank you for letting me present. I really appreciate it. And one of the things AvaSure Engineering takes very seriously is feedback from customers, either through our clinicians, our deployment teams. We make a lot of our product improvements we've made over the last 2 years have been a result of direct feedback from customers and the people that are on the ground with our devices. So that's a significant driver for our innovation, and I really appreciate it, and please keep it coming. So thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Rich. Appreciate all the time today. Thanks everyone for attending. And Laura, that's a wrap. Thanks everybody. Have a great day.
Yep, thank you.